After defeating Xenos and liberating Alamigo, you go back to Kugane where Kiten tells you that someone wants to speak with you. This person's name is Lena, and she is a correspondent for The Raven, a famous newspaper within the world of Final Fantasy XIV. But she calls over another girl named Alma, who asks you to find her father. Then they invite you to the Prima Vista, which is an airship theater barge. After getting on the ship, Lena explains that this ship was given to the Majestic Imperial Theater Company as a gift from the former Emperor Solus. But when Varus took over the country, every play had to be approved by the Central Imperial Board of Censors. However, the Majestic Company decided to make plays in opposition to Varus. Then Alma steps in to explain her father Geonomus' play, The Zodiac Brave Story, based on a Garlean fairy tale, was approved and became popular. However, the censor boards realized their mistake and started to withdraw funding from the company, and others followed them so they wouldn't be on the bad side of Varus. But before they continue, Cid interrupts explaining why you're here, telling you that Geonomus is an old friend from school and that he recommended you to Alma, explaining that Geonomus wants to change Garlemald from the inside out through his plays even after being banished from the country. So after getting this information, you decide to help Alma, and she explains her father was making a sequel to the Zodiac Brave. But Lena interrupts by saying that the story of Delita becoming a hero and king on top of creating the kingdom of Ivalice is the whole story. So Alma explains that her father found evidence of a second hero who helped Delita become king. Then Cid interrupts, saying that all of the answers are with Geonomus, telling everyone he never believed the stories were just fairy tales. Then Alma continues, telling us that her father believed that the ruins of Ivalice are under the Dalmascan Desert, which is under Garlean control, and that he brings back unique crystals called Auracite from his expeditions there. However, when they got to Hingashi, Geonomus spent most of his time in his room alone in conversation, and Alma says someone was talking back to him. But before she can continue, she gets interrupted by her brother Ramza, who isn't happy about your and Lena's outside help. After this, Ramza calms down and explains that he believes his father is in Rabanast, Dalmasca's capital. After this, you head into the royal city of Rabanast and defeat the spirit of Algath Dadphilis along the way. Then you find another Auracite and Geonomus, but the reunion is interrupted by Bagam the bounty hunter, who wants the Auracite you just found in exchange for Geonomus. So you give it to him, but he takes Geonomus' diary before he releases him. After this, Bagam leaves and your group goes back to the Prima Vista. After this, Cid arrives and Geonomus wakes up. Then he explains to everyone what he found. He says that there were two other heroes besides Deltia, a pair of siblings named Ramza and Alma, who he named his kids after. Then he reveals his true name, Arsalam Durai, and that his family recorded the true history of Ivalice and the War of the Lions. This is when Ramza takes over, telling everyone that their ancestor knew Ramza and Deltia, but was burned at the stake for recording the true history. Then the Durai papers were sealed away and the truth went with them. Then Ramza reveals they have an earlier draft of their ancestors' book, but the diary Bagam took had all of the translation information they've learned. But they refused to give up, using Geonomus' great memory to continue finding out the truth. After this, Cid calls in a Archon named Mikoto, who explains that the Auracite can grant people's deepest desires, and that it is similar to summoning a primal, except that the Auracite can be its own source of power and take on the will of whoever held it. This explains the spirit of Algath calling himself king during your fight, when in reality he never became king. After this, Cid points out Auracite's similarity to magic tech, but before we can think about who could create these things, Cid takes his leave. Then Alma says she heard voices from the Auracite in their possession, but before anyone can discuss this, they get interrupted by a pair of Mughal siblings, and the one named Mont Blanc wants to join the Majestic Company. Unfortunately, after getting verbally abused by Ramza, Mont Blanc goes off to slay a beast to prove Ramza wrong, which freaks out his brother Hurdy. So you save him and bring him back to the Prima Vista. But when you return, the Banga, working with Bagam named Bagwai, asks for help to find their leader and gives back back Geonomus' diary as a show of good faith. After talking, Mikoto explains that when you defeated Argath, the Auracite was drained, but when Bagam picked it up, it started to consume his soul and desire. This is when the Banga explains that they used to be Dalmascan soldiers working directly under Prince Rousler, who gave them one last mission to protect Princess Ashlia, but they failed and she died, telling them to survive. So Mikoto theorizes that Bagan's desire has something to do with his failure. Then Geonomus shows everyone that something was added to his journal, and Mont Blanc reads it as Ridorana. So we go to the Ridorana lighthouse to find Bagan and to see if it has a connection to the Zodiac Brave story. Our group finds Bagam, but the Auracite convinces him that we're Garlean soldiers, and he lashes out, transforms, and runs away. So we go back to the ship to regroup, where Geonomus reveals that he believes Ridorana was built on top of the Clockwork City, which was mentioned in the Durai papers. Then Bagwai points out that Alma's necklace is similar to the one Bagam wears, but before they can continue that conversation, I want you to like and subscribe if you're enjoying the video and want to see more like it, on top of video essays I make as well. But with that being said, let's get back to the story. We explore the Ridorana lighthouse and we find Bagam, but we cannot save him, so we end his suffering. After defeating him, you take the Auracite, and Ramza tries to grab Bagam's necklace but gets knocked out when he touches it. So you go back to the Prima Vista where everyone compares the two necklaces. Then Mont Blanc says they're both Auracite, that Rassler gave Bagam the necklace so he could give it to Ashlia, but she died so he kept it. Then Ramza wakes up saying that the necklaces are leading them to Ivalice and is acting uncharacteristically nice. He continues by saying that the Auracite necklaces belonged to the person he was named after, and that they were dragged around Dalmasca to prove if they were worthy of seeing the truth of Ivalice. Then he touches one of the Auracite, leaving everyone confused. After doing your own thing for a few days, you come back to the Prima Vista where Alma has been sick, but no one knows why. Then Geonomus tells you that in the past, Ramza and his allies traveled the land to deal with the problem of Auracite, as Deltlia forged his path to becoming king. But Ramza's group went to the Orobone Monastery to destroy the monster that created the Auracite, Ultima the High Seraph. This is where you talk about your experience fighting La Habrea and him using the Ultima weapon, which was created by the Allagans to cast the Ultima spell. So Mikoto follows up by saying that the High Seraph probably taught the Allagans how to do this. Following this, Geonomus explains that they know the general area of the monastery but don't know the specifics and need the help of a Dalmascan Viera to get there. But before we can tackle that problem, Sid arrives to give Mikoto a device she needed and tells you that Bagua is outside and that he needs you. Then he leaves. After this, Mikoto tells you that Alma's necklace is making her sick and she hopes Sid's device can lessen the effect it has on her. Then you talk to Bagua explaining that he knows someone that will help Geonomus if we help them. On your way to the destination, the Banga explains they've joined a Dalmascan resistance group and their commander Fran wants to meet you. After getting to the resistance hideout, Fran and you make a deal that if you can get her what she wants from the Eorzean Alliance, the Eastern Alliance, and the Aldenar Trading Company, she will personally guide you to the Orobone Monastery. So you call your allies and tell them what Fran wants. Then you get your answer from all of them at the same time, which is no. But Bagua explains that this was just a test for his and Fran's leader to show her what she was getting herself into. After this, everyone goes back to the Prima Vista and Fran arrives to fulfill her part of the deal. But your talk is interrupted when Alma says that Ultima has been talking to her and that she may be able to bring their mother back to life if she finds out how the Auracite works. But Geonomus and Ramza tell her not to do this. Unfortunately, Ultima takes over Alma's body, then Mikoto uses her device to stop Ultima, but she opens a portal to take Alma. So your group goes to the Orobone Monastery and Alma appears before you and Ramza saves her, but he gets taken in her place. After that, you all regroup in the Prima Vista, then Alma's necklace begins to glow and you get a vision of a conversation between Deltlia, Durai, and Alma. where Darai and Alma explain that Ramza sacrificed himself to seal away Ultima, and that Ultima was summoned by the first person to ever be called a Zodiac Brave, Ajora Glabados. And lastly, Ramza wanted his name erased from history. Then Alma shows Deplia the Urusite containing Ramza's will, and Ramza's spirit appears, telling them that this is what he wants. After that, they create the 2 Urusite necklaces and the Darai papers, hoping that Ramza's story can be told to future generations, and that Ultima can be defeated. When your vision is finished, you tell everyone what you saw. Then Alma wakes up explaining that she and Ramza are just bait for you to fight Ultima. Afterwards, you and Fran enter the Orobone Monastery, then you fight Ultima the High Seraph and you defeat her. After your fight, you and Fran find Ramza. After this, the original Ramza thanks you and his descendant for defeating Ultima. Then he passes away to the Ethereal Sea where his friends are waiting for him. When we get back to the Prima Vista, Geonomus says that he will add a final act to the Zodiac Brave story, telling the tale of Ramza and his comrades and how they defeated Ultima, hoping that this will eventually become part of the history of Ivalice and common knowledge. So you get to see a preview of the final act of the Zodiac Brave story being performed by Alma and Ramza. And that is the end of the Return to Ivalice storyline in Final Fantasy XIV. With that being said, if you want to see more timeline videos like this one or video essays on your favorite video games and anime, like, comment, and subscribe with notifications turned on. But with that being said, it's been Skips and I'm out.